What's going on, guys? I'm here with Alex, and Alex, you are the creative director on Assassin's Creed 3. That has got to be a pretty awesome job.
Yeah, it is indeed a very good job, and working with a bunch of great people too. So.
Yeah. So, this last couple of weeks, we've seen like more and more stuff come out about Assassin's Creed 3. We've learned that it kind of takes place during the American Revolution, it starts before the American Revolution, but it carries on into it. And I gotta say, I think a lot of people are kind of surprised by the context in which you've chosen for the new game, but also very, very intrigued.
Yeah, I think it's fun because I think when you're choosing a setting for the game, we could go anywhere in history, anywhere in time, but you want somewhere that's relatively untraveled. You don't want to go somewhere. You don't want to go to World War II. You know what I mean? There's been enough World War II games. Unless maybe we could think of something brand new to say about it. But I think you want to go somewhere that will surprise people and challenge people. So I think it's kind of cool that people are a bit taken aback.
Yeah, and with that said, it seems like you guys are almost retooling the franchise here, or giving it a fresh face at the very least. One, with a new assassin, and two, it seems like there's going to be a lot more open world environments and things like that, just because of the you're out in nature now, not necessarily in a town. So, as you're recreating Assassin's Creed, how are you keeping it true to the franchise yet at the same time like retooling it?
Yeah, well, I think that we know that the two fantasies we're engaging in are this idea of being an assassin on one hand, on the other half being kind of a tourist in time. So anytime you change the setting radically and you change the character radically, you get a lot of new stuff for free. You know what I mean? Like, well, what does it mean to be in 18th century America? So that's how we came up with the idea of saying, well, we should go to the frontier. We should go out into nature. Nature was a big deal, and weather was a big deal. So you start to have these ideas emerge, and then obviously you take it back and you think, can we make this fun? Can we make it challenging? Can we pull it off? So things sort of fit naturally together.
Awesome. Now, one of the things we saw in the demo is you have to carry out missions in the middle of like epic war battles. Now, in the previous Assassin's Creed, you've always been on the verge of war, and you've been involved in some pretty intense battles. But this kind of feels like the first time you're really involved with the actual war itself, instead of like on the outskirts of it. And the character seems to be a lot more aggressive.
Yeah, I think that we knew that in this setting, as soon as you say American Revolution, people think of battles. But we didn't want you to be part of the war. It's not the fantasy of being a soldier, it's the fantasy of being an assassin. So while you'll be visiting these battles, you'll always have a secondary objective. So your goal at the Battle of Bunker Hill, as you saw, is to assassinate a specific guy. So you have a side goal, even though you get to live this feeling of being at Bunker Hill.
Awesome. Now, one of the things that I kind of noticed is there's a lot more, you're out in nature, so that, there's wolves, there's bears, there's deer and stuff like that. And you have the opportunity to skin them, which the game kind of reminded me a little bit of Red Dead Redemption. Was that game an influence on you guys while you were working on this?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to be working on it a long time. So I joined the team in January of 2010. So when we started out, we thought, all right, if we're going to do this frontier as one of the maps, obviously there are still cities, there's still Boston, there's still New York. But if we're going to do this big wilderness section, what are we going to put in it? What's the crowd of the wilderness? And our answer was basically animals. So we thought at the time, well, this is great. No one's done animals in an open world game before. And then of course a couple of months later, Red Dead ships, and it was my game of the year that year. Really, I loved that game. So I think any big open world game is influencing all the other big open world games to some extent. But we're going to take a very different tack. Like I know that when I go out into nature, I don't see a lot of bears because they tend to hear me coming a million miles away and leave. So we want the player to be more engaged in this notion of hunting and tracking and trapping, and sort of take that assassination sort of idea and apply it to animals.
Nice. Now let's talk about the new main character, or the new main assassin rather, because Desmond obviously is still going to be around. Let's talk about Connor. Who is he and where does he come from?
He's born in a Native American village in the Mohawk Nation. He has a mixed background, so his on one side is European, on the other side it's Native American. And we wanted someone who was very, very different. So we wanted someone who tonally would play off nicely against Ezio. Ezio is sort of he's a lover and a fighter and a joker, and we wanted someone who would be fresh. We didn't want to retread any ground, and we thought playing this sort of very unrepresented or like lightly represented character, a minority, a Native American in a game, gave us a really fresh space to explore, and also gave him kind of a perspective on the battle that was different. He's not on the side of the Patriots, and he's not on the side of the British, so it gave us a lot of room.
Now, I know a lot of people that come from mixed backgrounds, sometimes they have an issue finding an identity within either culture. Is that going to play a role at all within the game?
Yeah, I definitely think it's part of his sort of his story in the game. You know, we're going back to this big epic story of starting, you know, as a child and going all the way up to an adult. So you'll see why he joins the Assassins, you know, what he's trying to do to help his people, how he becomes involved in the revolution. So all of that, and these sort of questions of who he is and how he fits, definitely play in the game.
Awesome. Now, you also, as always, you have a lot of iconic figures from history in this game. Today you showed us George Washington, Ben Franklin, and a few others. I happen to be a huge fan of Ben Franklin. What kind of a role is he going to be playing in the game? I'm just very curious about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you know your history, you know that he's mostly in France for the Revolutionary War, so he's not there all the time. We really like him. We think he's such a colorful character, and at first, you know, as many people have predicted, there was this easy option of saying, hey, he's an inventor. You know, maybe he could do the same job as Leonardo did in the previous games. But, you know, not only did he invent the lightning rod and the glass harmonium and other, you know, things that aren't exactly useful for an assassin, and he's not really there, and we didn't want to retread any ground in the game. So he's going to be there, but he's not the biggest historical figure in the game.
All right, fair enough. I'm a little bummed. Yeah, I was hoping you'd be going and doing missions, but I will cope with that. Now, the other thing you guys have now is you're going to be able to dual wield weapons. You've got like a new rope dart that you can use to like garrote enemies or like hang them from trees and things like that. Like it seems like there's going to be a little more emphasis on the combat, but I'm sure that at the core of it, you guys are still like, you know, it's still going to be a stealth game, and you're still going to be using those kind of tactics, right?
Well, always in Assassins, I think there's been the option of stealth, but if you watch people play, a lot of people fight it out. So we're sort of a soft fail stealth game in the sense that, you know, you do your best, and then if everything goes wrong, you just kill everybody. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of structure. So we wanted to rebuild the fight though from the base. You know, like we know that it's one of the weaker elements in the previous game, so we wanted to go back to the drawing board, try and make a fight that was you know, as amazing as we could. But yeah, there's still plenty of stealth options in the game.
Awesome. Well, Alex, the game is looking incredible. I can't wait to hear more about it. And when are folks at home going to be able to get their hands on this game?
Pre-orders are open now, which is cool, and you'll get your copy October 30th this year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.